Welcome back to Football-Oranje. It's me, Michael Statham, with Mike Bell, the Football-Oranje editor. And today we're going to be talking about top 10 Eredivisie players who are going to be leaving the league in the summer for big transfers abroad. We normally do this video as like a sort of 3-4 minute affair, but we thought this time there's so many players that are going to be on the move and so many big players that might be leaving the league. Why not do a sort of feature-length podcast type episode where we talk about these players who have been impressing in the Eredivisie this season. If you like this kind of thing and you're thinking, I'm looking forward to this, please do hit the like button now. Subscribe if you're new to Football-Oranje. Now, Mike, this was a very hard list to make this year. There's so many top players in the league. The league is improving. At the end of the day, the Netherlands is now 7th in the coefficient ranking, so it must be doing pretty well. And there's a lot of top players at the top clubs who are going to be moving on for big money.
Yeah, I think that last summer, with everything that's going on with Corona, there's a quieter window, and a few players stayed that extra year that might have went last year. So I think this summer is going to be a very busy one, and we're going to see a number of players move for quite a lot of money. I think some will eventually stay, but yeah, there's going to be some big moves this summer and some intriguing players going from Eredivisie clubs to abroad.
Yeah. And the first one that's actually on our list in 10th place, and you and I disagreed about this just beforehand, David Neres. I don't think he's going to be moving from Ajax this summer. I know that he's someone who has been touted for a big money move ever since he signed for Ajax, but he's not impressed, and he was pretty rubbish this season. So what makes you think that he'll leave Ajax for big money elsewhere?
I think that Neres is one of these players that's always going to get linked with a move abroad, and I think it'll be the same this summer. I think that clubs will be looking at him, and I think somebody will take a punt on him. And I think that Ajax, whereas the past couple of years they might have been trying to keep him, I think this summer that if they want to get rid of one of their players, it would be Neres, because as you say, he's not performing right now. He's not doing exactly great things in Roma. First leg, he was awful. But I think that the clubs that have been linked to him in the past, the Dortmunds and like that, I think there'll still be some interest from some clubs, and I think that somebody will take him. And I think that if he's available for, say, 15 to 20 million, a Europa League chasing club will snap him up. Somebody like a Bayer Leverkusen might come in and take him on. And I can just see him going this summer, because I think he's a player that is eventually going to say that I want to leave this summer. I think Ajax won't stand in the way, and I think there will be a couple of interested clubs. I think that he's sort of lost interest in Ajax this season. I think he's on to other clubs. I think he thinks that he deserves that move. And yeah, just personally, I think he'll get it. I think he'll get a move abroad this summer. Whether he goes on and does great things, we'll see. But yeah, I think he's definitely one player that will be earmarked to leave Ajax this summer.
Maybe you're right. Maybe he has lost interest, because I find that he should be one of the Eredivisie's best players, one of Ajax's best attackers, and he really hasn't been. He's been so poor, hasn't he? Yeah, and if anyone's going to leave Ajax this summer, it's going to be him. We've actually got another Ajax player coming up on this top 10, so do stay tuned for that. But he's the most likely to leave, I think. It's a shame that he won't be in the best of circumstances. He won't be a top signing for a European top club like we thought it might have been for him. I wonder where he'll end up. Maybe some mid-tier team in Italy or something will pick him up, and he might do well there. We'll see. Now, in 9th place in this list is a player who used to play for Ajax and has been doing really well at Vitesse, Richedly Bazur. He has had a mixed season, mainly filled with positives, but he himself will admit that he wasn't here at Vitesse for a long time. He wants to just develop in a year or two and move on back out of the Eredivisie for a top transfer elsewhere. So, Mike, where might he be going?
I've seen him being linked with clubs in France. So again, I think it's not a top Champions League club that's going to snap him up. It's going to be one below that, just chasing third, fourth place in France, maybe chasing the Europa League. I think that somebody like Nice or Lille, that sort of level, will eventually go for Bazur. I think that he himself has admitted that he's looking for a transfer this summer. I think he's probably achieved what he can with the test taking them to safely finish fourth and get to the cup final. That's a pretty good season for them. So I think that he's probably done all he can with them. I think he'll be targeting that next move because he is wanting to get back into the Dutch national team. I don't think he's going to do that while at Vitesse. So the only way that's going to happen is if he goes to one of the top clubs in the Eredivisie, such as Ajax or PSV. But I don't think that's going to happen. And he's going to have to move abroad. And I think abroad he's going to go to, again, a club like Bayer Leverkusen in Germany, or a Lille or Nice in France. Somebody just below the top level where he can develop further. Because we've seen what happened with Sven Botman. He's at Lille. He's worked his way into the Netherlands squad. So I think that if Bazoer goes to a similar type of club, then that could be the perfect next step for him. It's not worked out from at Wolfsburg or Porto, but I think now he's more mature player. So I think it could work out well, him going abroad now.
More mature, but he still makes mistakes. He still shows his passion on the field, but sometimes in the wrong way, and get sent off. He's a bit reckless, but he's still someone who plays with the heart on his sleeve, and he gives his all for Vitesse. And he is a creative player from deep, and he might interest, I think, a team in Italy, given that he can play now as a centre-back, but also as a creative midfielder. I think that a 5-man defence in Italy might suit him. And let's just give a bit of credit to Thomas Lech as well, the Vitesse manager, who is responsible for his development this season. He's done a fantastic job with him. But yeah, Bazoer, I think he can get a transfer elsewhere. And if he had been keeping up his performance levels from around Christmas or the autumn time, he'd be getting an even bigger move. But that's why he's a 9th finalist. And why an 8th finalist is another Test player who's actually pipped into the post. Osama Tanana. He's a little older than Bazoer, but again, like Bazoer, actually came back to the Eredivisie just to get a big transfer elsewhere again because he wasn't playing at his last club in France. So yeah, Osama Tanana. Do you think that it could be not a top club per se in Europe that picks him up, but he'll definitely be back in a European top 5 league?
Yeah, I think that he's got the ability to play in a top 5 league, but not for. I think out of all the players on this list, if we're going for one that's going to maybe go to a team that's a bit lower down the leagues, it'd be Tanana. I think he's a mid-table top 5 league sort of player. He's been excellent for Vitesse this season. I think he's been their influence through getting fourth and getting to the cup final. It's all been helped by his creativity in the midfield, and I think he's one of these different sort of attacking midfielders that can just create something out of anything. And I think he could do very well in a top 5 league at a good side. I think he's earned it this season. I think he's been excellent, and I'd happily see him go to a European league and see if he can do better than he did at Saint Etienne, which I think he will, because again, he's a player that's grown. He now knows he wants that move abroad, and he's impressed this season. If he's got that confidence from playing with Vitesse, then he can take that into a move. And yeah, I think he's a player that will be interested in quite a lot of clubs in, say, France, Germany, or Italy, because I think he'll come with a smaller price tag. And I think, yeah, there'll be clubs in Spain as well that are looking at him, because I think that he'll be available for around about 5 to 10 million, and that'll be a bargain for one of these clubs.
He definitely will be. He's a player who, because he's quite late in his career, he's reached his peak, but he's playing well at his peak. Therefore, wouldn't be that expensive for a team trying to get him. Don't think like the Premier League would suit him, but something again like Italy might be quite good for him. I wonder who will take a punt on all of his really long free kicks and his excellent goals and his creativity from attacking midfield, because he's a good player. Now, 7th place is a final player, Marcos Senesi. The reason why he's quite lower down this list is he may not leave yet. He may well sign another contract at Feyenoord. It's actually been put in the works that he may well do that. As a new manager coming in at Feyenoord, he may well think that that's another opportunity for him to lead the club further. He might take them on and might be in the race for the league title next season with if players like him can stick around. He is actually the best rated defender on Who Scored at the moment, Marcos Senesi, and in the Eredivisie. And that shows it all about him, really, because he's that kind of different kind of defender in the Eredivisie, someone who's strong, wins duels against players. The reason why he's also the only final player in this list is because there's players who may well actually stick around again further. Steven Berghuis is someone who who both of us think could be leaving the Eredivisie this summer. But given his age, he's sort of the end of his 20s, he may not actually leave Feyenoord. He's been touted to leave for many years. He went to Watford, it failed. But he's a captain of Feyenoord, and that kind of thing might suit him quite well at that stage of his career. So that's why Berghuis isn't on this list. There's Kochu as well, who might leave for money, big money. Personally, I don't rate him so highly. But last year too. But Senesi is the most likely player to leave for big money to a big European league. What do you think of his chances, Mike? He's 23. He's that kind of stage of his career where he's going to go to a European top club. Now's his chance.
Yeah, I think that as much as Feyenoord would say they'd want him to stay, I also think someone maybe behind the scenes in Feyenoord is going, right, we need some money this summer. What's our biggest asset? And it is Senesi. He's the one that would get that transfer fee, and I think he will go this summer. I think he's already been linked with Napoli quite heavily. If they finally sell Koulibaly, I think that Senesi would then be their replacement. I think I've seen him linked with Sevilla as well. These are sort of clubs that are going for him, and yeah, I think that Feyenoord can get 20 to 25 million for Senesi. They'll take that because he is a great player, but with Feyenoord's finances and a new manager coming in, they'll probably want to give him some money at least to spend in the summer. And because of Berghuis's contract situation and the fact that if he did leave, he'd leave for quite a small fee, I think that Senesi is the one that they'll not happily get rid of. But if they come in with a £25 million bid, Feyenoord can't turn that down at the moment. So yeah, he's one that can go, and I think he can excel in a top European league because he is great for Feyenoord, and he's been a revelation, I think, since he's joined the club. I think he's going to go down as a bargain signing for them, one that they've scoured the leagues in South America before, picked him up and improved, and now he's going to go off to a bigger European club, and I can see him excelling in a top 5 league for sure. I think he's a future star for Argentina and possibly a World Cup as well, because I think he's that good. So yeah, I think it's been great to have him in the Eredivisie and see him developing at Feyenoord, but yeah, I think given their money situation, he's gone this summer.
Perhaps then he could be more highly rated on our list. The fact that he may well leave for big money. And I look at the other players in this list, and he might be the one who Feyenoord could make the most profit out of as well. But there are a couple more defenders coming up. 3 more defenders on this list. But Senesi may well yet remain at Feyenoord, hence why he's a little lower down. But he definitely has a lot of money attached to him. The next one on our list at number 6 is Nicolas Tagliafico. Ajax defender, left back. He is 28 years old now. He may well be 29 very early next season. He needs to move on now if he's going to have a chance at an even higher level, an even stronger league. He talked about it last summer. He said that he wanted to leave then. He didn't know. Perhaps because a top team didn't come in for him, although there was a lot of talk that Chelsea were going to sign him. It may well be an English club comes in for him again, a team that's playing in the Champions League next season. I'm sure he wouldn't leave to go and play in the Europa League, say in another country, but he would definitely want Champions League football, fighting for a league in a top European league, and he wants to play every week. There are teams out there that will need a left back, and Tagliafico can definitely play at that kind of level. He doesn't make many mistakes for Ajax, and the only times where he has made mistakes are because I think he's not quite as interested and engaged as being an Ajax player as he was, but still a very top defender, one of the best left backs you've ever seen in the past decade or two, that's for sure.
Yeah, Tagliafico's an excellent player, and I'm a bit surprised that he hasn't left Ajax already. I think he was primed to go last summer, but yeah, I don't think the clubs eventually actually came in for him that were linked for him. So yeah, he's been constantly linked to a move to Spain, to Italy, to England, but it's just not happened for him yet. And I think he's at that age now where it needs to happen this summer if it is going to. So yeah, I think that we'll see what happens this summer. I don't think he's had that season where you can say, yeah, he's definitely going to go because he's been excellent this season. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say he's been the best left back in the Eredivisie by far.
No, he hasn't.
So again, that might hurt his chances, but I mean, he's been solid, and what you're going to get with him. He's an international with Argentina, so I think that there will be some clubs in for him, but I can't see Ajax getting maybe that fee that they maybe would have got 2 years ago or even last summer. I think he's going to go for a bit lower this year, and he's got to be one of these ones where maybe Ajax have said to him, look, you stay another year and I'll let you go for a bit cheaper. And I think that's what's going to happen this summer. I think there'll be sort of like an agreement behind the scenes that, if a club comes in from, they might accept a little bit of a lower fee this summer. I can see him going. But he's been a great servant for Ajax. He's been great in the Eredivisie. But yeah, I think it is time for him to take that next step.
Yeah, he has to do it now. Otherwise, he may as well just stay at Ajax the rest of his career. There was actually talk of him signing a new contract again at Ajax. And that's not what he wants if he wants to move abroad. There's also Andre Onana, who may well have left this summer. But now there is talk again of him signing a new contract because of his suspension from football for quite a while. So he may well then stay another year because of that. But no one else should leave from Ajax. I mean, we talked about Neres already earlier. I don't think there's many players who are in that stage of their career to go and leave Ajax yet. I think it would be another year before we start to see a few more of these younger players leave Ajax. What are your thoughts on that, Mike? Because if Ajax can get their place go another year, then they'll go far the season after.
Yeah, when I was creating this list, I was thinking of Ajax, and I was like, there must be other players that are going to go. But yeah, Neres and Tagliafico are the only two that I can actually think of leaving. I can't see anyone else going anytime soon. Ravenberg's going to stay. Anthony's not been good enough to get that big move yet. Howard's only just arrived. Onana's not going to go because of his suspension. Right back, you got Wrench and you got Mizraoui, who Mizraoui might have gone, but I think that injury is sustained might keep him for another year. The back, I can't see Skurs going unless he gets angry at the fact that he's been dropped. Timber's going to stay another year. Wynn's going to stay another year. Alvarez is probably quite happy now that he's back in the 11. Martinez, if he was linked to Barcelona last time, I can't see that, but I think he'll stay another year. So yeah, I think Ajax squad selection's got to be pretty much the same next year, unless they get rid of a couple of fringe players like Karel Eiting when he comes back from his loan period might go out. Jurgen Kellenkamp might eventually leave. Orsina Traore might be the one that decides to go. He was linked to was it West Ham in January. He's fallen out of the first team. He might go, but that's not somebody that they're really going to miss at the moment. So yeah, I think Erik ten Hag, if he does stay on, he'll be working with pretty much the same squad as he's got now.
Yeah, it's going to be a very scary Ajax next season if they have that development again, which they always seem to show every single season. The fact they have all these young players, they then go on and actually become a very good team by the end of the campaign. That's happened in the past 5 years, at least. And that will happen again next season. If they can keep their players and maybe sign one player who's going to add quality, then they're going to be a very strong team, and certainly in the Champions League too. Now, in 5th place, we have to have him in here, I think. Top goal scorer in the Eredivisie, Georgios Giacomakis. The Greek striker's at Veve Venlo, very low down the league, but he's averaging about a goal per game. He has to go abroad to a bigger team. Surely in the Eredivisie, it's got to be a team who's going to pay big money for him, and not like a huge transfer fee. I think he'll want a big wage. And that's the kind of thing you can demand either outside of Europe, say in a Gulf state, or if you go to Turkey, say, that might suit him. But the guy's gonna pick up himself a big pay packet, I think, this summer.
Yeah, I think he's achieved exactly what he wanted to do this season, and he scored enough goals to get that next move. I think that, he's the sort of player that, for me, it's the sort of player that a championship club coming up to the Premier League signs. They see him as a sort of bargain that they can snap up quite cheaply. And he goes to English Premier League and finds out that it's a lot tougher than what Eredivisie was, and he doesn't have that sort of great season. We've seen it before in Eredivisie. There's strikers that bang in goals for fun and get a move, and then it all sort of falls apart. Afonso Alves is one that springs to mind straight away. Yeah, I think Giacomakis has been outstanding this season for VVV, and if they do get relegated, it's not down to him because he's been outstanding for him. It's down to the fact that he's basically carrying a team on his own and he's scoring all the goals. But yeah, I think he's primed for a transfer this summer. There's a small chance that could be to a bigger Eredivisie club, but I think it's going to be abroad because I think he'll want to cement a place in the Greek national team. I think I can see him going to, as you say, like a Turkey or Gulf State or to a championship club coming up to the Premier League. I think that's the sort of area where he's going to be looking at, and I can see him going for maybe 2 to 3 million, which if he keeps scoring goals like he is now, is an absolute bargain. But yeah, I think that needs to come with a bit of a warning that he's doing this season, but this is not something that he's doing every year. I mean, this is definitely his greatest season of his career so far. So yeah, I think that the team that takes the chance with him is needs to take into account that this is one great season that he's had so far in his career. So could go either way next year, and I'm quite intrigued to see how he does for whatever club he actually eventually goes to.
He's one of those typical Eredivisie strikers who's making the most of the standard of the league, and he's gonna go fast with one club. He might not score as many goals as that again in his career, but he's had a fantastic year in the Eredivisie, and that's what the Dutch league is all about: scoring goals. Now, before we do our top four, got some honourable mentions to do, I think, because it's, like I said, such an extensive list this year. Now, from RZ, there's a few other players who may well still leave the club, but then weren't sort of prominent enough to be in a top 10 like this. You've got Frederick Mitchell, the midfielder. He's had a great season again. Calvin Stengs, he might leave RZ, but unlikely. I think you'll find he'll stay another year at RZ, but he has to be the big guy next year. He has to step it up if he wants to get a move after that. But at the moment, he just looks like a very good player for the level of an RZ kind of club. He's not going to go much further than that, is the impression I get. Moran Boadu, too young at the moment to leave the Eredivisie. Then from PSV, Cody Gakpo, Nani Madueke, a couple of good players, but aren't going to be moving on yet. Havenberg, Ajax, same thing. Then you've got a host of players from sort of mid-table clubs who have had good seasons and probably will leave if they have a good offer come in for them. Dranekerk at Utrecht, Gudmundsson, the Groningen left-back. Tahiri wants to leave RKC, Valwijk. Rijvlut at Heracles, George Cox at Fortuna Sittard, Joel Drummel, the 20 goalkeeper, is probably going to go to PSV, Abdi Hadoui, who's a Sparta Rotterdam midfielder, and Joey Veerman at Heerenveen. So, Mike, they were sort of like our honourable mentions there. They're all very good players. But going on to our top four, there are some big names in here. And it's very exciting to think about the kind of clubs they'll be going to and the kind of money they're going to rake in for their clubs. And all of them, a bit of a spoiler for you, all of them are Dutch. All of them are going to be Dutch internationals in their career. And in fourth place, Owen Wijndal.
Yeah, I think that it's important that the top four are Dutch, and it's going to be important for the Dutch national team to take that next step and get that move on in their career and go and excel in leagues that aren't in Eredivisie, because I think that's the only way these players become stronger. And, Wijndal, he's had 2 seasons as AZ starting left back. Been impressed with him in both. I think he's developing well, but there's still things that he needs to add to his game. And I think he needs to do that in a league where he's challenged a bit more than he is at AZ week in, week out. And I think that working with different coaches and adding to his game will benefit him by going abroad. I think he's been great for AZ. He's now in everyone's probably first choice left back. But we've seen in the recent internationals that there's just still some things missing from what he can do when he gets forward. His final ball isn't there. I don't think he's that suspect defensively. I think he's quite solid, but yeah, I think that he can add more to his attacking game for sure. And I think that going somewhere abroad, working with different coaches, working in a different league will definitely do him very well. And I can see tons of clubs going for him. I think that major clubs in all leagues will look at Wijndal as an excellent prospect for left back. I think the latest club I saw went to him last week was Arsenal, but I can't see that with Kieran Tierney there. I think that's the sort of level that he'll be looking at. He'll be looking at a Champions League chasing club in a top 5 league, and that's the sort of move he deserves. I think in terms of a young Dutch left back prospect, he's the finest one to come through since Jetro Willems, who sadly it's not worked out for since, mainly because injuries and a bit lack of luck. But yeah, I think that Wijndal is an excellent prospect at left back, and I can definitely see him moving to a Champions League club in a top 5 league this summer, and he's going to raise his at least 15 million if they hold out for what he should for him. And yeah, I can see him excelling abroad, and that will help him hold down that Netherlands left back slot for years to come.
The reason why I've not actually got him in the top 3 is because he may well stay at RZ another year. He was named captain for a match when Turncoat Miners wasn't able to play this season for RZ. It could be that next season he becomes captain of a club and is told 1 more year with us, and it will do your development all sorts of good. The World Cup will come up after that. So he'll want to play regularly again. He won't want to go to a club like Arsenal and be second choice behind Kieran Tierney. So he wants to go to a club where, again, he will play every week. He could suit a team where they'll play him at left wing back as well as left back. He's definitely a pacey kind of player. He links up really well with the left winger. He picks up assists from left back position, and he's going to be this starting left back at the Euros, you'd think, for Netherlands, and that's awesome. I think that he's going to pick up a lot of money for RZ this summer. And in third place as well is another RZ player, Turncoat Miners. He has to be on this list. I think we considered him leaving last season. He didn't. But 17 goals this season, 7 assists. Admittedly, lots of those goals on penalties, we have to say. But a set-piece specialist for free kicks too. 85% passing accuracy. He is a brilliant player. But there is a big but, and I'm starting to see this a few times actually. He's not eradicating silly errors from his game, which might hold him back from, say, going to the very top of Europe. What are your thoughts on that, Mike? Because he'll definitely pick up a big fee for RZ, won't he?
Yeah, I think that the list of clubs that are getting linked to Recruit Miners is growing, and you've seen it go from last year where I think in the summer he was getting linked with Leeds United, and I think there was even links with Fulham last summer.
That's not the kind of club he should be aiming for, is it?
Yeah, and now it's the Liverpools, the Romas, the Napolis. That's the sort of clubs that are getting linked now, and that's what he deserves. He deserves that sort of top move, and I think it's quite like what I said about Vindal is that Recruit Miners is an excellent player, but he's playing in Eredivisie, and that could probably make him a bit lax. AZ aren't getting challenged every week by clubs to dominate games. Every week it's not Ajax that they're playing. Recruit Miners is yet to impress in a game against Ajax. So we'll see if he does it in 2 weeks' time. But again, a move to a fresh league where he'll get challenged a bit more. He'll get more players in his face. He might either excel or make more mistakes. So it depends on him. But I think he needs that move now to take his game to the next level. And I think he's got to be quite frustrated because he was in the Netherlands squad and now he's not, because he's now in the under-21s. And I think that he'll now see that as he now needs to make the next move to then jump into the Netherlands national team. Because if you ask me who's a more talented defensive midfielder, Martin de Roon or Turncoat Miners, on the ball, it's Recruit Miners all day. But de Roon's become that savvy Serie A midfielder that can mop up play, and he hardly makes any mistakes. So if Recruit Miners does go to another league, he needs to become that sort of player, that sort of one that you can always depend on and becomes reliable every single week and does everything, and then keeps that on the ball presence and his passing ability. And if he becomes that all-round defensive midfielder, then yeah, he should be playing in a Champions League club that's challenging for titles, because he's potentially that good. But there's just little bits about his game that people have doubts about. I know that his turn of speed is one that he gets criticised a lot. I think if you bring up Recruit Miners as a top player, you'll get some fans, possibly some Ajax fans, saying that he's not quick enough and he doesn't turn quick enough for a top team. But I can see him going to a top 5 league and excel. And I think that for me, he suits Italy. I think he suits that sort of style league.
Yeah.
I think that's where he should be going. But I can see Premier League clubs being interested as well, and he might be turned by that. And I don't think that might suit him. I think in Italy, I think he'd be great at Napoli, a Roma, or even a Lazio. A Lazio would be, for me, a great move, that sort of intermediate sort of European chasing club, and then maybe go into that next step. You saw it with Durin. He went to Atalanta. Middlesbrough back to Atalanta, but Atalanta are now a Champions League club, so he's probably quite happy there. But if Recruit Miners he doesn't want to go straight to a Champions League club, he goes to like a Lazio. I think he could definitely excel there. I just hope he gets that interest this summer and he doesn't end up just taking a move to Fulham, some club that just comes up from the Championship. I'd say,
Or Aston Villa.
Well, no, nobody wants that. But if he wants to join Newcastle, that's totally fine. I can see him slotting into our midfield pretty easily. But yeah, I think if it's between a Championship club coming up to the Premier League or staying at AZ, I'd say stay at AZ for another year, especially if they get second place. But if he's got that move to Napoli or Lazio ahead of him, then I'd say definitely go for it and challenge himself and make his game even better. And then he will be a contender for that midfield slot in the national team.
I know that the Villa sounds like a bit of a joke, but I do genuinely think that he suits that club. I haven't seen a rumour about it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised because Villa need that kind of midfielder, and they are seriously looking at breaking into the top 6 next season. I mean, I know a lot of Premier League clubs like to do that, but Villa have got a lot of money behind them, and I think he's that kind of player that they will need to take them forward into that kind of level. I think a project like that might actually interest Coat Miners, because Villa are actually looking at players in their lower 20s who are going to be developed to either stay at the club for a long time or go further and go bigger. See, again, I think that kind of environment also would suit him if it's a sort of mid-table Premier League club, but on the way up. West Ham might be another option, say, for example, in that kind of area. Now, 2 players left to go on our list. In second place, we went with Denzel Dumfries, who has been on our lists before for top 10 summer transfers going away from the Eredivisie. But he's been the captain of PSV for a year. He's the Dutch national team right back. He's a starter there. He could probably stay at PSV if he wanted for most of the rest of his career and earn a decent amount. He could play for the Dutch national team all the time. But if the guy wants to go further, he has to move now. He is a brilliant right back, though, in the Eredivisie, and has proven himself quite well on the European stage, Champions League level 2. He's picked up plenty of assists from right back again this season. Do you think that he has the potential to go and play in a bigger league, Mike? Or is he someone who is just going to keep impressing in the Eredivisie?
He's going to get a move abroad. I mean, it's going to happen. Where he has the ability to excel in a league abroad, I'm still not 100% certain of. I think that when he plays for the Netherlands, there is still sometimes he has great games for the Netherlands, but sometimes he has bad ones, and it's the bad ones that are holding him back. And again, he's a player that if you bring up, there's a lot of people that watch the Eredivisie that will say that Dumfries isn't that great. I think for PSV and the style of play that they have, Dumfries is a good player. Wherever he goes abroad and excels, I'm not 100% sure. I think he's got the capability of it, but again, he's one of these players that needs to develop his game. He needs to add more defensively to it as well, and a stronger league could catch him out. But I do think he will get that move this summer. I think he will go to a bigger club. He will take a punt on him. I can see him. When I think of Dumfries, the first club that comes into my head is AC Milan for some reason. I don't know why. I sort of just jump in there. So I can see him at a club like that going there, and then whether it's a success or not is down to him. But I can see that sort of level of club going from. I know clubs from the Premier League have been linked in the past. I've seen Newcastle linked in the past. I don't think you'd go near us at the moment, unless we get a Saudi takeover. But yeah, he's a player that I think that he's great for Eredivisie level and a club like PSV because they're always on the attack. But in big games, sometimes he has moments of defensive lackness. In the top league, you can't have that week in, week out because if you go to Italy, the big teams can get beat by anyone. You go to Spain, you're getting challenged every week. Whereas coming up against Veno, you can get in behind their defence. You can maybe not track back as quickly. You can get assists against them, but it's the big games that he needs to work on. But yeah, I think he's another player that for his development needs to go abroad and see how he does. Because he is one that if he doesn't do well abroad, that PSV will take him back. So he's got to take that shot, see how he does, and then he could surprise us all. He could be the next, or he could be Netherlands right back for years to come. And he could be doing great. We've got somebody like Rick Karsdorp who went abroad, struggled for a couple of years, came back to the Netherlands, had a loan spell at Feyenoord. Now he's doing great at Roma now. you've got Hans Hatteber. He came through at Groningen, did all right, and then now he's Atalanta's starting right back in a contender for a national team. So yeah, I think that Dumfries does need to go abroad, and he needs to challenge himself, and I'm intrigued to see what sort of clubs will go from.
The Euro is going to be so big this summer for a lot of players, and Dumfries is one of those. If you can impress against big teams on that kind of stage, then he will get a big move. And in first place, the last player in our top 10 list of Eredivisie players going to leave for big money moves this summer. I wonder if you've guessed it yet. Daniel Marlon, 25 goals at the time of recording this right now, and 9 assists this season in all competitions. He's been performing really well in Europe as well this season. Yeah, 22. He's one of those players who's at the ripe age to leave the Eredivisie because he's going to achieve very big things, don't you think?
Yeah, I love Daniel Marlon. I think he's great. I think he's a striker.
Full of quality.
Yeah, I think he could fit in any league. It sort of annoys me that he's having a great season this year. I think he's scoring goals, but there's some games where he does miss quite a few chances. But I don't think the way that PSV are playing right now suits him. I think that Schmidt's not getting the best out of him, even though he's scoring goals. I think that sometimes him and Zahavi have gotten each other's way at times in some games. But yeah, I can see him getting that big move this summer. I think that he's constantly getting into it with Dortmund, and I think that would be a great move for him if they, say, got rid of Sancho or sold Sancho to Manchester United or City, wherever he goes, and then Malen going in there. A partnership with Malen and Haaland up front might be very interesting to watch, to different players. But yeah, I think Malen's got the pace, the directness, the finishing ability, the awareness to play in any league, and I can see him excelling at any club. That's why he's getting linked to the biggest clubs in the world. I've seen him linked to Barcelona. I've seen him linked to big clubs in England. I've seen him linked to everyone because he is that good, and he has the quality to be one of Europe's. I'm not going to put him up there with Mbappe and Haaland, but
no,
the next level. I'm not going to say he's the next big European striker, but I think he could be a very good, very, very, very good striker in any league. Definitely a 20-goal season striker in a top 5 league if he picks the right club.
I think he's going to go to a club who's not at the top of Europe yet, and make his way from there. I think he'll go to a club that are playing in Europe, probably Europa League or Champions League, just about, and he'll score a lot of goals there, and then make another move after that to a real top club. He's got that kind of potential, but isn't just someone who, like Giakoumakis, for example, who's just sort of scoring goals because it's the Eredivisie. Marlon's been playing against some really top sides and performing very well. He also needs to take his chance at the Euros this summer for the Netherlands. I mean, you might be watching this after the Euro. The Netherlands have been knocked out the Euros, and Marlon didn't get to play very much. But Daniel Marlon is someone with a lot of potential, and someone who's worked in a very tough environment at PSV this season to Roger Schmidt. And he's come out in flying colours. He's ready to leave the Eredivisie without a doubt. Now, that does complete our list. If you enjoyed this kind of content, please do give it a like and comment below for sure who you think is going to leave for the biggest money from the Eredivisie this summer. Is there anyone that we left out, or is there someone who you think should be top of our list instead? Do let us know in the comments. Subscribe to Football-Oranje if you're new. Do go visit the website, of course, football-oranje.com, and see what else is going on there. And finally, still can get yourself a Football-Oranje wristband if you want to support what we do. You can find the link in the description on YouTube, and also it's pinned to the Twitter page, the link to how to buy yourself a Football-Oranje wristband. Well, that's all from me and Mike. There's plenty more content on Football-Oranje coming up very soon as we get towards the end of the season. But yeah, if you enjoyed this kind of content, do give it a like because it will support us and we'll know to do more of this kind of thing in the future. So from me and Mike, bye for now.
Bye.